board or I write down. But I've never been good at making slices like you guys are doing and this kind of stuff. This is pretty high class stuff as well, so it's good.
Well, I don't think we would have been able to do anything else.
Yeah, just recording. Can't really.
Okay. So how about these are technical issues. How about the
It was useful for me to see you act things out and how you were trying to listen stuff without using Spanish or like using Spanish as a last resort if you really can't explain the situation to them. So that was good to just get a sense.
Yeah. So try to. Okay. One thing which is very important, and what some of the mistakes in this material are, like, from my Highland or Gringo background, I think of the word bread as something that you could use in an elicitation. And here you notice right away that it's problematic because they don't eat bread. So in that sense, I can recognize a linguist sentence in an article right away because I know this is made up by the linguist rather than coming out of some. Also, linguists love the word kill, for instance. They always are hitting or killing. Or, so somehow there's a lot of that kind of stuff. But apart from that, really, even beyond what we did here, try to make your sentences culturally appropriate, so that the words that are in there are, simple words, which is one thing that you want to know. The other thing which was going on was that Todd particularly and Janice to some extent were going for lexicon. So they were going for particular words and how they were used and differences in word usage, which for me as for this presentation is not what I was going for. So if you come from the anthropological side, the lexicon and the concepts and the way things are described are very important. If you're coming from the linguistic side, you try to make that fairly constant in your data so that you're not going to end up in all kinds of lexical issues too much. Obviously you can't avoid them, but that's not really the focus. So this is one of the interesting things that I learned from it. Try to avoid things that are culturally inappropriate, depending on what you're looking for. And also, one thing which I think was good, that we had a fair amount of latitude in what we, other issues that came into the discussion, because sometimes I've noticed linguists, and possibly including myself when I was in a hurry, you kind of cut off certain things because you say, oh yeah, no, that's not really what we're working on. Okay, let's move on. And then the consultants often get pretty stressed because they think, oh, I'm doing something wrong because the gringo is showing some impatience. So the trick is not to, because you can go anywhere in this kind of thing. The trick is to stay on course, but without losing, without giving latitude to what the speakers are doing. Obviously, the speakers are not focusing on structure. It's taken me, I worked with one guy in Chumbivilcas near Cusco, young person, maybe 19-year-old, and we worked maybe for 6 weeks every day for 2 hours. And then I think gradually you could see that he started thinking like a linguist. You could see that he became like, he started developing pattern orientation in his way of responding, rather than simply, oh yeah, that reminds me of my sister that went for a hunt and then, isn't that happened? So in that sense, remember that maybe you're looking for a particular aspect of grammar or lexicon. The speaker is interpreting it from an experiential perspective. These are two different things, and you have to bring them together somehow. You have to find a way that you get your structures, but that they stay close to their experience. Otherwise, things get out. Okay. Other things which you have any comments yourself?
So something that I think is has aspects of being both an advantage and a disadvantage is kind of the mission creep so pedagogy versus research,
Okay.
and this kind of like play between the two of we're here to learn, but we're also trying to generate research materials.
Uh-huh.
That can be really good. I think
Uh-huh.
that's also where a lot of the frustration comes in, because that's where all the different desires to learn a specific thing.
Oh,
come
okay.
in,
So
or
you
things
felt
like
this
that.
was too much like a research session rather than
I don't know that I would say that.
educational session.
I just,
I'm just pushing you a little
it's
bit.
a little
beyond.
bit of both, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that has its advantages, but I think it also
Right,
that's what generates
yes.
frustration.
It generates frustration, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just like to go off what like Brian was saying, it's like I wouldn't say it's like we dislike the research aspect at all, because I mean, without it, we wouldn't have material throughout the year for Todd to like break down and discuss with us via our Skype sessions. So we definitely recognize the benefit of it, but I agree with what
Well,
you're saying.
I want to jump in here just for a moment. It depends also what you understand yourself to be learning to do. Because at your level of graduate students, I hope that you're learning not only Quechua, but how to learn a language that doesn't have materials. You know, how to learn, for example, to get better at eliciting material. And also how to make sure that when you're listening to material, you get some infrastructure down. You actually get it down where you can repeat it, you can tape record it, you can compare it, and so that's one of the things I think that we're learning to do, is to work with informants besides just learning Quechua. Because some of you move to Schwat or you move to another dialect. Or one thing we're doing is we're learning a language really where the pedagogical materials are not present, and so in the process, I think it's a matter of learning to sort of make those materials and elicit those materials and work with native speakers, rather than just like if it were French, learning French.
Okay, let me point out one thing which is interesting about working with multiple varieties at the same time, which is interesting by itself, but it also has an aspect to it that is that we get a lot of, or you, and when you're doing fieldwork, anybody who does fieldwork gets a lot of varied responses. There's a lot of variation between that data. So sometimes me is put in, sometimes me is not put in. And sometimes Viara is put in, sometimes Viara is not put in. And we saw a whole bunch of variation between the speakers, and also variation within speakers for different sentences. And one of the really difficult things, I mean, for me, that I was trying to process while we were doing this is what variation is really just one time you say it like this, another time you say it like that, and what type of variation is really a difference between varieties. So you have to learn how to deal with your data, in the sense that you have to understand what's really significant there, and what is probably the next time you get it going to be slightly different. And that takes, I'm sure that that can take forever, because this is where linguists make mistakes also. Like they sometimes attach significance to something which is not so significant because it's just random variation, and sometimes they ignore variation in the data which is significant. Yeah, so I can see the frustration and I can see the difficulties in it, but just try to imagine yourself doing it. So one thing that I said, so several things. So be sure you keep culturally appropriate lexicon and situations. Second, another thing I was trying to do, I didn't quite always do it the right way, was I was giving them bits of the sentence first, or bits of the situation first, before giving them the full sentence, so that you have the speakers will have some kind of idea of the portions of the sentence before you get to the whole thing, and that way they can, because if you go for a 7-word Quechua sentence right away, first of all, you're not pronouncing it in the right way, and you're trying to process it frantically, they're trying to put it in and then they don't. But if you give it to them in chunks, sometimes they manage to build up more. So that's why we had. I mean, I'm glad we had repetition. Pedro said, okay, and then it worked out pretty well. Other things, Janice, things you noticed?
Yeah, I guess, going along with what you said about how Todd and I kind of were more interested in lexical versus grammatical, I kind of saw that as a way of getting at the culturally appropriate way to say it.
Okay, yeah.
But at the same time, one thing that we have to be careful of sometimes is assuming that there's one correct way to say something, because we all grow up with prescriptive grammatical ideology in our language background. And I think Quechua-speaking people, especially our speakers, many of whom haven't grown up with literacy as a strong cultural component of their identity, they don't think about standardization and prescriptive grammar the way we do. And so a lot of times they'll say that both are okay. And so then you're wondering, are there true synonyms? Do they really mean exactly the same thing? And then you struggle with that, and the only thing to do is to have a good corpus of data and go back to it and say, okay, now how do they really use it? How do they use kazi versus nyaya?
With Olivia, when she used the Tigramuni and she used the Spanish, the
Volteamuna.
Yeah.
She's doing that a lot lately, and she didn't used to do that. She's using more Spanish lexical items in her language than she did even 2 years ago. I noticed that just the other day.
Yeah.
I almost said to her, "Why are you using so much?" But I didn't say anything. Stop.
She's been speaking a lot of Spanish with her youngest daughter.
Yeah, I think that's influencing her. So anyway, I don't know if that resonates for anybody, but I think sometimes we have to walk that delicate balance between making sure that we're not assuming that there's only one correct answer, and also making sure that we're saying the culturally appropriate thing with the correct nuance. It's like language gives us this great set of possibilities. And a lot of times there's more than one way to solve a problem with language.
Okay, let me make 2 remarks about yesterday and 2 issues that came up yesterday that we resolved yesterday afternoon. So yesterday morning there was this discussion about haku and hakuchi, and whether it was inclusive and exclusive. And the feeling we got from Eloisa was that haku is if you're with 2 people, and hakuchi is if you're with more people. So it's really, haku is really like almost like a dual in the language, a remnant dual, just in this one construction, because you don't have it anywhere else in the country. And hakuchi is the real plural. So ishkayeta, chuskuyeta, hakuchi. So among 4 of us. Anacho, ishkayeta, haku.
Ishkay poralla. Ishkay poralla
Haku.
Чувство пораз Akuichi mai mapasianga
Yeah,
variu.
yeah.
Mataragang variu.
That seemed, well, at least for right now, we will think that that's correct. That might change because you never think that you know everything. I mean, there's things that I've thought for years that I find wrong, and Genesis finding out new things. So we find out new things. So don't take it for granted that you know what's happening exactly. Always kind of keep your mind open that it's different from what you know. Okay. Yeah.
Do you have any suppositions about where the duo might come from? Is it written in? Is it an aerial feature or?
It's not. I don't know.
But I haven't seen it in other kinds of.
I haven't seen it anywhere else in this whole region dual, so it's an interesting question why it would occur at all. And also ha. So the haku. The ha is very much like sha and shamu.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you if you cut up shamu into sha, and then the particle mu, the sha the shamu is very much like the ha and haku.
Right.
So that seems to be an old.
It would be more conservative, like the
Old,
Peruvian
yeah,
Catholic
so the
form.
haku is an old form,
Yeah.
and the shamu is the way it was Ecuadorianized, but they never sent shaku. There's no shaku around. So, but how the ku,
Where
the
the ku
ku-
came from, yeah.
ku could be the bare plural. So like in not the bare plural here, but the bare plural in Peru. So ha, ku, more. But why is it the dual then? I don't know. Or it could be the reflexive. So we don't know what it is. Good question.
You're asking if that appears in other cultures? That's in India.
It's an Inca.
It is in India, yeah.
There's a dual in Inga?
There's Aku and Akuichi
Oh, okay.
in India, I'm pretty sure. Well, actually, I'm sorry, no, it's Akush. God, do we still have the Inga textbook? Is that up in the library? Darn. Because I'm not sure I'm going to get this right. I might have the files on my computer that just didn't look at. I think it is in Inga.
Okay, this is yesterday. An issue that came up yesterday morning was that I said in these texts, in these Bobonasa texts, we found the form una in lots of cases where, in fact, you've been learning in class that it should be now. And I was thinking, how is it? Is una on its way out or is now on its way in? And here is where working with texts is deceptive because the texts, these are traditional narratives. They contain the form shka lot. Like shka is used as a past in old times, old stories. In Yaupa Tiempo you use shka. So what we found out yesterday was that these texts were using shka, and that in the corresponding variety of Eloisa, also with shka you use una. So you have shamush kauna. But in other tenses, like shamunaura, you would have now. Or in the present, you would have shamunaun. Mikunaura. Mikunaun, which is what you've been learning. Mikunguna, with the u in